Natalie with Two Wheeling Tots, and I'm quickly going to go through some of the main features you want to look for when purchasing a balance bike for your son or daughter. First thing is seat height. You want to make sure that your child fits on it. Their bikes are not one size fits all. There are many different sizes of balance bikes. So the lowest size for standover height is 11 inches, and they go all the way up to 24 inches. So you want the seat to be about 1 inch below their inseam. So make sure you measure your child and go online. You can go online to our website, www.twowheelingtots.com, to see what the measurement is to make sure a bike actually fits your child before you buy it. The next thing is tires. The two main things you have is you have foam tires, for example, they're on the Strider, and you have air or pneumatic tires. Foam tires, the benefit is they don't get flat, and they essentially they withstand just about anything. The downside of the foam is that they are stiff. It's going to be a stiffer ride. They're not going to have that give that air tires have when you're riding over rocks. They also don't provide nearly as much traction. We took, especially indoors, like in a gym, the foam tires, they slide everywhere. And we had really bad experiences with the Strider, essentially because the foam tires couldn't withstand the slick floors. Pneumatic, okay, they have that spongy feel, so the kids aren't going to feel every bump in the road. They also provide great traction, especially if you have nubby tires, which are available if you plan on doing anything off-road, which I highly recommend getting bikes that have some traction on them. Now, yes, they do get flat. However, if you just buy some simply tire sealant, put it in right away. Tire sealant you can get on Amazon, super cheap, maybe $8. Essentially, it seals the inside, so you rarely are going to get a flat. So the benefits of the foam really don't provide much if you get the sealant for your air tires. Another feature is what type of bearings it has, whether it's sealed or not. Sealed ball bearings prevent rocks and dust to get into the bearing with time, and so what happens when they get dirty is it creates more friction, creating a less smooth ride. Now here is a Strider, does not have sealed ball bearings, so if I give it a push, you can see it's not going to last much longer, and it's going to slow down, versus the early Rider, which does have sealed ball bearings. Now that thing's just going to keep going, and as a result, the kids are going to get much more speed. They're with a minimal effort, and essentially have a much smoother ride on a sealed ball bearing versus one that is unsealed. Another thing about the bikes is style. Now, all of our riders, essentially, by far the favorite was the early Rider. It just looks cool. It has a 14-inch in the front, 12 in the back, looks like a chopper, rides like a dream, and so the kids generally all fought for this one. Another one that got huge style points were the Jovies, the Bicycoos. This is the Jovi BMX. Kids love it, love the look of it. Has a turning limiter, has a brake. It's a great bike, it's very sturdy. And the other one they make is called the Bicycoo, but it's the GT. That one has wider tires, and the kids also love that one. The next thing is frames. Now this is a wood bike. Wood bikes, the problem with wood bikes is they can warp if they're left outside, and kids, let's be honest, they're going to leave their bikes outside, they're going to throw them around. Now this bike, the early Rider, they make their bikes out of marine grade birch, meaning that nothing's going to happen to this thing. If you leave it outside, it's extremely durable, just like as a boat would be. So we threw this one around, didn't have any problems with it. Now that's wood. Most wood bikes are not the case. They're going to warp pretty quickly. Main, of course, is metal. Most bikes out there are metal. It's great because it's extremely durable. Yes, it can chip. Yes, some can rust. Most are aluminum alloy, so they won't rust. But, it's pretty durable. Now, the last type is composite. It's new to the market. Essentially, it's a plastic one. Now this, well, it's not true. It's a composite plastic. First bike, that's the main one out there. Now this one, it may look cheap, but I promise you, I've jumped on this thing myself several times on the frame in different directions, and I haven't even damaged it a bit. So it's by far the most durable over time with, the air elements. And throw anything at this, nothing's going to hurt it. One of my favorite things about composite bikes too is during the age range of kids ride balance bikes, they're potty training. You have an accident on this thing, which we did, hose it down with soap and water, not an issue. Okay, versus the metal and wood, both could potentially have issue with water. The next thing you want to talk about is the weight of your bike. Now, this bike, the Kazam, it's one of the heaviest on the market, 11 pounds. If you have an 18-month-old, 11 pounds is too much. They can't maneuver it. So you want this bike is really for your older kids, probably like 3 or up. Now the Strider, their bike weighs only 6 pounds. So it is great for your 18-month-olds, and the seat also goes down to 11 inches. Now, although 6 pounds, the first bike comes in around 7. Now this seat, you can buy a kit to drop it down all the way to 11 inches as well. The benefit of this one is the seat goes up much higher than the Strider does, so you know, a lot more benefit out of it. Okay, next thing is brakes. Do you need a brake? Well, essentially kids really don't use their brake much until the age of 5. Now my son started using it around the age of 3. The problem is because their fingers aren't essentially long enough to get their full grip out of it. Now he started using around the age of 3, and he loves it. So, but they don't really use it regularly to the age of 5. So if it's in your budget, I would recommend a brake because it's not going to get in the way when they're not using it, and it's there when they do want to use it. The next thing is limiters. This bike does have a turning limiter, which means you cannot turn it all the way around into a 360. Now I had a son, and my son, this one does not have a limiter. My son learned on the Strider that this Strider, in fact, did not have a limiter. It wasn't a problem for him. My daughter learned on a Kettler, which I don't have right here, but does have a limiter. Either way, they both turn out just fine. I wouldn't consider it a final deciding factor. Some have them, some don't. Now, some bikes, they actually make them removable, so be concerned about it. But those are the more expensive bikes. So the Lek Bike Jumper is removable, as well as this Early Rider. Okay, this one is set so you have a full range of motion. But once you turn on the limiter, you can change it, and it narrows the range of motion. Next thing is footrest. Now, with footrest, I generally don't recommend footrest simply because it changes the way they ride. When they have a footrest like this Kazam, now this design doesn't bother me because it doesn't get in their way of pushing, unlike some of the glide bikes. Now their footrest is removable, but it can get in the way of pushing with their legs. Now what happens with the glide bike is any footrest, they want to glide. So kids run and they put their feet up, run, put their feet up. So they spend more time gliding than actually riding it like you would a bike. So when they do not have a footrest, they are more willing to maneuver around. They go up hills, down. They're really more adventurous when they do not have the footrest. But if you want your child to be a little bit slower, the footrest is there because they tend to go slower because they don't push as much because they're resting their feet. Okay, the two other things you want to talk about warranty. Now the bikes, the Wide Bike has a 90-day warranty, and First Bike as well as other brands have a lifetime warranty. 90 days to lifetime, huge difference. So if you have younger siblings that are going to grow into it, definitely look for that bigger warranty. And the last thing is the bolts, as in safety-wise. So we're talking about the bolts in the back of the bike, or essentially right here. So these, notice that they are recessed, they don't stick out. So if your child falls, there's nothing for them to scratch themselves on. Now, other bikes, not the case. Once again, I'll show you the Strider. Okay, so my son, he fell and he scratched himself pretty good on this bolt that was sticking out. Okay, so I like the fact that the First Bike as well as the Early Rider have recessed them, so that's not an issue, not something you have to be concerned about. Now, once again, those are the more of the top-end bikes, but some other companies have gotten smart too, like the Kazam, and they've covered them, so you have a little cap on them, so they're not going to scratch them up. And the other companies who have done this is the Joovy. Okay, so they're covered. And once again, a great point because it's one less thing you have to worry about. In the end, if you have any questions or want more detailed reviews of any of these bikes, just visit our website, twowheelingtops.com, and on there you can also see a place where you can send me any questions you may have about your bikes. All right, thank you.